Okay, so here's the investigation that we started with. There's an E on this grid. The grid has like eight across, so that's eight columns. And then, I don't know, up and down, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10 up and down. The up down is like not so important, but it is important how many are left to right. So because it is an investigation, probably I'm going to need a table. There are very few scenarios where I don't. This one I definitely do. No. Okay. So the instruction says in the first step, what is the total of the numbers in the first E? Like we're just adding together all the numbers in this E. But because this is like a pattern investigation, I need some way to know like which E I'm even talking about. So I am going to do that by looking at like this number in the top left corner. So this one I'm calling one, and I know that's the E where like the top left corner is the number one. And then here we have the sum. I don't know. Yeah, let's write a little bit of the working out. This is a lot of numbers. I'm not going to write them all down. So we have 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 9. I'm going to put this in a calculator to get the total. And it is 196. Great. Now for the second step, it says the E is moved one square to the right to create a second E. And what's the total of that one? So if we, whoa, I don't know why those markers were coming through. If we move one to the right, now we have to add those together. So this is now the number 2. Oh no, this pen is giving me a hard time. Let's see if my pen is working better now. Okay, so then we're going to add them together. 2 plus 3 plus 4. And I put that into my calculator, pushing all the buttons, and I get 207. Okay, like it's not super useful yet. Just two things is not really enough for a pattern. Let's try another one. So in part 3, it says investigate the total for any position on the grid. Let's keep doing a few in a row because often it's easier to see the pattern when you're doing in a row, and then we'll skip some. So I'm gonna do like 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5, and then I'll skip to like, I don't know, 35. So if I move over by 1, now I'm here. You might consider doing this investigation like with pencil so you can erase, or like erasable pens, because if you are coloring on this grid, it's going to get a bit intense. Okay, so again, the start, I have decided to call the start of my E by the top left corner. You can use any spot. It's up to you to remember where that is. So, oh no, that was an accident. So this is starting with 3 in the top left corner. We have 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus dot, dot, dot. And we add them all together. I actually already did this in the calculator, so it's a little bit faster, and that's 218. I think I see a pattern, but I'm not really willing to bet on it until I try one more. So now I'm going to start at the number 4 in my left corner, and we are here. So 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 12, dot, dot, dot. We're adding together all of those numbers, and they get 200, what, 10, 229. Okay, so when we look for a pattern, it can be helpful to look top to bottom, like comparing these values. But for our final version, that is not useful. Like in the final rule, it needs to jump like by knowing left to right. I know the start number, I know the end number. But to find the pattern, we can look up and down. So I see to go from 96 to 107, it's adding 11. And here, 207 to 218 is adding another 11. And here would be adding another 11. Okay, so I think every time I'm adding 11, which is great, but again, like I can't be using this top to bottom approach because then I would have to calculate every single E. And I don't want to do that. I want to be able to be like, okay, it's a 44. What do I do? So I am going to write this now that I know it's like a plus pattern. I'm going to write another column just from here, it's still about the sum, so I don't put it all the way up, but the middle column is now sort of just a working out column. So I start and I have 196. And then this thing that happens when I'm plussing or adding, I'm going to do 196 plus 11. Because I want to look for the pattern. I don't want to know the actual number. I have the number, it's 207. I want to know where it came from. How did I get that? I think I am out of space. Let's see if I can slide this over. Because I need to be able to see my grid, but also write more stuff. So in the third row, I have 196, but now I add 11 again. So now it's twice that I'm adding 11. And in the next row, I started with that 196, but now I'm adding another 11. So then that's 3 times I'm adding 11. Now we want to look for the pattern left to right. Can I see a relationship between this number and something over on the right? The first row is not that helpful, but here I can see a 2. Okay, nothing really. If I look at the 3, okay, here's a 3 and a 2, a 4 and a 3. I bet you that when I do 5, it's going to turn out to be 196 plus 4 times 11, because I'm noticing that this number is always one bigger than this number. So let's double check. Let's actually make our E at the 5, put them into the calculator. So this is 5 plus 6 plus 7. That plus looks weird. Okay, let's try this again. So 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 13, 21, 22, 23, 29, 37, 38, 39 is, oh no, I have a typo. I put 2 instead of 22. 1 second. Okay, 240, which is no surprise because yes, it is 11 more. So let's say I jumped forward to, I don't know, let's do 42. So according to my pattern, I think it's going to be 196 plus 41 times 11, because this number that the 11 is times is always one smaller than the one on my left. And let's just try it. Like, I'm going to highlight the E, put into my calculator every single value, and hope that when I put them in the calculator, I get whatever is 196 plus 41 times 11. Let me actually do 196 plus 41 times 11. Okay, so according to my calculator, this one is 647. But now if I type literally all the numbers, so like 42 plus 43 plus 44, 50, 58, 59, 60, 66, 74, 75, 76. I do get 647. So that's the pattern. So 42 plus 43 plus dot 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 is 647. So now if I use n, so for my general rule, I always need to be using a letter, and often we just use a lowercase n. Don't ask, it's just a thing. So I am going to fill out this to get my justification in a second, but over on the right-hand side, we know it's 196 plus, and the number that's smaller than n is n minus 1. Because like that's just how numbers work. If you subtract 1, you get to the number before. Like the number before 11 is 10. 11 minus 1 is 10. That's how numbers work. So I think this is the rule, but we do want to expand this and combine our like terms. So taking this over here, I have 196. I have to open up those brackets. So it's 11n minus 11, 11n plus 186 minus 11. I think it's 185, but let's just, check with the calculator. Because subtracting, sometimes I do it wrong. And I'm going to call this Sn. S stands for the sum, and N is just like my starting number. So up here, like S1 is 96, S2 is 207. So this is my rule. I found the rule. Great. But I'm really only on step number 3/4. I already did verify my rule with the number 42. We could verify it with another one, or I can just say that I verified it with the 5th one. But like now we need to prove it. And the justification is by using like only letters in this like middle working out section. So I'm going to take and make some space. I'm going to move this table out of the way because I'm going to need way more space because there's like, I don't know, how many numbers are in this E? A lot. So we can keep looking at the one that's in purple. It doesn't really matter. Say that this is my starting number. So this is called N. I'm going to put this in red. Maybe it'll be like bright and we can see it. That was not that bright. Let's try bold. So if this one is N, then this is N plus 1 because one number bigger is always plus 1. And now this is N plus 2 because that's two numbers bigger. And when I go downwards, on every row there are 8 numbers. So the next row down is adding 8. Like 5 plus 8 is 13. 13 plus 8 is 27. That's because the grid has 8 across. If it had 9 across, I'd be adding 9. Or 6 across, I'd be adding 6. So this is now N plus 8. And now I'm adding 8 twice, so that's N plus 16, N plus 17, N plus 18. I'm sorry, I don't know how to make that sound stop. Maybe. Oh no. This is terrible. Hold on. Okay, we're back. Hopefully that sound stops now. Okay. Now I'm adding 8 3 times, 4 times. When I move to the right, I add 1 and 1 more. So take a second to think about this. It's just the way that numbers on a grid are working. When I move to the right, I'm adding by 1. And when I move down, I'm adding by 8. So when I get here, I moved down 2, so 8, and another 8, and to the right by 2, plus 1, which is 18. That's why I wrote plus 18. And so now our job is to write them all down. So the sum for the nth square is n plus 1 plus n plus 2 plus n plus 8 plus n plus 16. You see, I'm still going to run out of room, even though I tried to make so much more space. I could write smaller. 17, n plus 18, n plus 24, n plus 32, n plus 33, n plus 34. Okay, now we got to combine our like terms. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 n's. Aha, that's where that 11 is coming from. I should have known that already. So 11n. I'm going to guess that these numbers add to like 180 something, but let's just actually add them and find out. So in the calculator, we have 1 plus 2 plus 8 plus 16 plus 17 plus 18 plus 24 plus 32 plus 33 plus 34, which is 185. Zooming back out, our rule from before was 11n plus 185. So this right here, this is the justification. Justification is always like when you're using the whole pattern, but with letters. Not letters only because, you know, we move to the right, but like a generic. So it doesn't matter where we start the E on this grid, this is going to work. In the case that I'm using the top left value as my starting point. So we can talk about how to do the write-up together, like do the definitions and everything. I'll actually add it on this page. So this is inside the OneNotes. Here we have like E on a grid formative and then the solution. So you can look here and check it out later, but in general, that's the way all of these grid things work. And you see we have like an H on a grid, somewhere there's a T on a grid. I created this check mark, or maybe it was already there. I don't know. So we have plenty of practice we can do, but it all hinges on understanding that like when you move to the right, you add 1, and you move down, you add however big the grid is. Okay, hopefully this helps. I will see you one of our next lessons.